Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdeed, ji ayanu, goedemorgen.
Vorheragele, ni hao, tjunashumme, washmale, ohio, gozaimus, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasal, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, suavia, balli kare. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You watching World this morning, alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very superb Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello, Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you so much for asking, and I feel like your energies are a little too lifted today. What about it?
Well, I think I feel great about myself lately, and it's just because of the fact that I'm keeping a check on whatever I'm supposed to do every day. So I go back, I have a diary, and I'm like, okay, you know, done, done, done. So whenever it's all ticks, I feel great about myself, and I think everybody should. Ladies and gentlemen, feeling great about yourself is something which needs to come from within your own self as well. Make sure that for all of that peer pressure, make sure that all of those people who surround you are the ones who give you that support system which is necessary for you to reach towards your destiny rather than pulling you down.
I like that motivational Shahzad Khan early in the morning, but I think he's absolutely right. You cannot expect someone to treat you in a good way unless and until you do that to yourself first.
Exactly.
So this is where self-love comes in, right?
Yeah.
If you know the worth and value of yourself, only then I think you can set your goals and paths straight. So you tell me, you're talking about, well, sort of a, let me get this straight, sort of a timetable types, right? So when we were young, we used to make things, okay, this is when I have to study, this is the test I have to prepare for. Is that what you're doing? And what is on your list?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. And I think that for all of those people who are actually not focusing on what they really need to do, I think is something which will definitely make them lead towards something which I really do not want to say early in the morning. So ladies and gentlemen, I think that there's a simple quotation for it, and for everybody who's out there, if you're going to take it away or learn it by heart as well, I think that it will be very beneficial for you in your life. And that is that you really need to starve all of those things which actually take away your focus, and make sure that you feed your focus in a way that you reach towards your goal. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're actually talking about goals. Goals can be bigger and smaller. They come in every shape and size, but not everybody can fulfill them. That's the unfortunate part.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you put it in a very perfect way as well. Because, you know, when you talk about, well, following your goals and sort of maintaining your own self and then going after them, we're talking about development here. And I think, Shahzad, and I think we both agree on this, when we talk about social development, when the society together is developing, of course, at par with the international standards as well, only then can individual development also follow, you know what I mean?
Obviously.
So I think today we do need to talk about development on a larger scale. So just to sort of set up a preamble over here. I think, Shahzad, more usual than often, we do talk about United Nations, their goals, and, well, the purpose of its establishment, right? So for most of the people who do understand it, yes, it was to create peace in the world. And by peace, at that moment, we meant to end the great wars and then to never witness a great war again. Well, let's just say that did happen. Let's just say that it did happen. So the second major job of establishment of United Nations was development and prosperity.
Exactly.
Was the entire globe moving towards prosperity together? And this is where the SDGs came in. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about SDGs today.
Yes, but ladies and gentlemen, it's easier said than done as well, because when we talk about zero hunger, I don't think that, you know, in next 50 years, probably that's something which
I don't see it happening.
which is attainable or achievable for that matter as well, or renewable energy whenever we talk about that, or clean drinking water. I mean, we are sitting in the capital of Pakistan as well, and we do have places where we might not even get water. So I think that we really need to put our head to all of these things, whether, you know, where are we in terms of SDGs or the kind of achievements we have made so far. But the one thing which I want everybody to have in their head is that it's not only the government which can actually attain or achieve all of these goals. It always needs to be public-private partnership, and they need to work hand in hand and with synergy. Are we doing that? Really is something we're going to ask our amazing guests over here, because today I think that we have got an amazing blend or the perfect mix, ladies and gentlemen, because we have got representatives of the government and we have got representatives of the public sector as well, or the private sector as well, and we need to ask them whether are we in the right direction, because by 2030 we really need to achieve all of these SDGs. And for a few SDGs, I think we might be able to do that, but for a few others, we need global partnerships as well. We need global partners, ladies and gentlemen. So we need to think globally and act locally, ladies and gentlemen. Somewhat like that. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to actually read out the 17 SDGs, and then Shiza, ladies and gentlemen, over here will actually let you know what Pakistan is prioritizing as of now.
Yeah,
so,
let's
ladies
do
and
it.
gentlemen, starting with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals from 1 till 17, no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality. I mean, as a Pakistani, when I think about all of these goals, I know for sure that there's a lot of work which needs to be done by the government and the private sector as well. So
Together,
clean,
though.
exactly. So clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And the last is partnerships for the goals, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so here's the thing, of course, Pakistan, according to its own need, did prioritize some of these, there's first, second, and third prioritization. But rather than just reading all the, points out that you just did, of course, it's one of them, right? So to begin with, I think the foremost that for right now, it's important for Pakistan is zero hunger.
Yep.
The entire government, along with the private sector, I'm so sorry,
all right.
is going after it as well. Shazad, every other day we have amazing philanthropists over here, or people who are working with NGOs who really care about this particular cause, removing hunger, and especially trying to bring people who are living below the poverty line, at least, well, if not above it, at least, well, a little closer to it, so that the quality of life can be improved. So definitely, I will be asking how and why did we prioritize these particular ones, how are we going about it. So let's start the conversation with this amazing panel of guests over here.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, introducing to you the perfect mix for today's conversation or debate for that matter. I'm not going to label it as an argument because we really want something fruitful.
Of course.
With an argument, you never get done with whatever is going on. So we really need to have a debate. We want our viewers to know what SDGs are for and how are they going to help each and every country to move towards sustainable development. Just keep in mind, development needs to be sustainable, ladies and gentlemen, for the future generations as well, so that they can come in and they can play their roles. So ladies and gentlemen, first up, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by an M&A and a convener for Task Force SDG 7, Clean and Affordable Energy. She is Ms. Saima Nadeem. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum Assalam, thank you so much, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you, and it's indeed very brave of you to actually be over here and ready to answer all our questions as well. Alongside Ms. Saima, ladies and gentlemen, we are very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who's very outspoken, very dashing. He's got that personality, he's got that aura. But let's see whether he's got something for us or not, or for all of you people. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the founder, E-Pakistan, Chairman, SDGs Academy. He is Mr. Ammar Jafri. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum Assalam, good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Very,
Wonderful to have you.
Very fine, good morning.
Thank you very much. Alongside Mr. Ammar Jafri, ladies and gentlemen, since we spoke about the SDG Academy, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by the Chief Executive of the SDGs Academy Pakistan. She is Ms. Sadaf Khalid. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum Assalam.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. Last but not the least, ladies and gentlemen, when I was in my university, I think this is the subject which I liked the most, but it had micro to it as well. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by somebody who's an expert in macroeconomics as well. He's a macroeconomist from Islamabad as well. He is Mr. Muhammad Ali Kamal. Hello, Assalamu Alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum Assalam, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wonderful to have you. All smiles early in the morning. So let's get started with Mr. Ammar Jafri.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, SDGs. And how do you think that first of all, what are SDGs? How do you think that they're going to help any country have sustainable development? And how do you think that it can be achieved through public-private partnership?
I respond to your question just now. First, I will congratulate both of you, Shazad, that you have set the pitch and tone of the today's talk.
Thank you very much.
Whatever you two guys have said in the beginning for a layman to understand the goals of SDGs is wonderful. Right. It stands for Sustainable Development Goals. Every word speaks itself. Goals you have already defined. And if development is not sustainable, it cannot work. It's very, very simple. If it is powered by some donor money, it can't sustain, trust you, it's not going to work. Yeah. We have number of failures in this area from the NGO sector, that we got a lot of funding in health, education, all these things, but you see the results now because it was not based on sustainability. It was based on some donor money. You got the money is finished, job is finished, right? But I think first time in the history of human beings, let me repeat again, first time in the history of human beings, first time the global community have joined hands together, global community, with the slogan, do not leave anyone behind. And they mean 7 billion people. SDG is not only for Pakistan, it's for the 7 billion people on this globe, right?
Exactly.
All the nations at the highest authority have signed it. Our Prime Minister has signed it. United Nations has made a charter for the human beings. All 17 SDGs you have talked about, I think initial 4 are for the basic human needs.
Yeah.
Right? If you can say 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Health, education, power and hunger. Basic human needs. Other are cross cuttings. Right? So I genuinely feel that the authors of these SDGs must have written Kalam-e-Pak in their own languages. I'm very sure about it.
Right.
Very sure. They must have read the Hadith Pak, I think, in their own languages. You know, if you just see these 4, the prioritize, food and hunger, it starts from there.
It's about all of humanity.
All of humanity, all of humanity, all of humanity, right? So these SDGs have been designed, made like this. They address the basic human need. Then they talk about gender balance, which is very much required. I think we all talk about gender balance. Then
Yes.
clean drinking water, then 7 solar, 8 decent work, all these. You have already said it, so I won't repeat
Right.
that. I think the only one point agenda is required today, work together. Work together. If we think in silos, this is government, this is university, this is private sector, this is, I'm sorry, it's not going to work like this. I expect that Sadaf will talk more on work together because that is SDG 17.
Exactly.
I would like to generally talk about it, then you can take other panelists into it.
Yeah.
Of course.
That only one point agenda, work together. And there are 4 entities. Government, corporate sector, universities, very important because the leaders of today are in the universities.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I have my own comments on the leaders of today, but the future leaders, they are the universities. We have to focus on that.
Exactly.
If we train our kids in schools, she'll talk about it, but as the academy is doing it, on climate change, trust you me, we will control climate change.
Yeah.
If we start teaching them after 50 years of age, I'm sorry, it's not going to work like this.
That's true.
We have to teach them in the schools, in the colleges, in the universities, right? And 4th is the grassroots people. So if we take along all these 4 entities together, trust you me, we can achieve the targets.
We'll definitely do that, and we want to see that even in our lives as well. But ladies and gentlemen, a few of these SDGs, for Pakistan, I'm very sorry to say that early in the morning, but it looks quite difficult. Talking about climate change, I think Pakistan being the very amongst those countries who are really not the contributors, I think that we will achieve a few goals, but there'll be majority of them left behind. But the question which over here is very important, I think, is why do you think that for a private company to step ahead and be like, you know what, we're going to have our own academy and probably work with the government? I think why was there this need and why was there this dilemma probably that somebody had to think that the government might not be able to do it, so probably we need to partnership with them. So we'll move on to the CEO. Let's see what the CEO has to say.
Right person.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting us, and I'm very happy to, be part of this show and be talking about sustainable development goals through media. So I would like to highlight I'm actively working on SDG 17, which is Partnership for Goals.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important goal because right now SDGs Academy of Pakistan has developed global partnership all across 30 countries for development projects in Pakistan.
Yeah.
As Mr. Ahmad Jafri said, that there are challenges on sustainable development goals, but I think if you take the right approach, now let me take an example of Sweden and Norway. Sweden is one of the top ranking on SDGs. Do you know why is that? Because the government, the partnership with government-public partnership is very strong.
Yeah.
In all their institutions from primary level to higher education level, SDGs is taught as a subject.
All right.
By law, they have to teach us. So first step, I think Pakistan needs to highlight the Higher Education Commission, colleges and universities. Lately, after the pandemic right now, I've been traveling all across Pakistan. I was in Gwadar. I had an agreement with Turbat University. I went to Bahawalpur. Islamia University is one of the big university. Right now, I've just come back from the north of Pakistan. I was in Kalam. We had a SDGs boot camp over there. So the point I'm trying to make is you need to teach them. You need to look, sustainable development goal is something new in Pakistan for people who don't know. Unless and until you teach them, we will not be able to achieve the indicators and targets in Pakistan, whether we talk about the corporate sector, whether we talk about the universities and college, whether we talk about the government sector.
Okay.
So first step is that you need to teach the Sustainable Development Goals, and we, SDGs Academy, we are bringing international certification from top universities abroad, and we are going to introduce that in Pakistan. Secondly, the partnership that I talked about, we need to bring in international experts on SDGs. That's how it's working in other countries. So that's my comments for today.
And that's wonderful as well, but I'm very sorry that I'm bringing this up, but I need to know this, that when we talk about SDGs Academy, is it running on a sustainable model, or is it running on fundings and donations? I think this is something which is very important to us.
Let me tell you on record, on a live program.
I'm sorry that I brought this up.
Me personally, Amar Jaffrey,
Yeah.
she is with me right now. Yes, we are trying for the regular funding with the legal channels, but there are no hidden channels.
All right.
It's a private limited company being audited by Security Exchange Commission of Pakistan. We have auditors and have a very clean account.
No, that's wonderful.
that's
That's not what I'm trying to
I
ask. What I'm trying to ask is that, you know, a company,
an
an academy which is working for SDGs and itself, it says Sustainable Development Goals, how can that company be based on a model which is actually running on funding itself?
No, it can't. It can't.
Yeah.
So, okay, we got the answer. It's not, which is brilliant, all right. But moving on to you, Mr. Ali Kamal. You know, it's kind of really funny. I really don't like comparing, sorry, probably I just said the tone wrong. I really don't like comparing the, you know, development or how far we've gone in terms of achieving those SDGs of Pakistan as compared to anything in Europe. Well, we know for obvious reasons. And in so many news articles, when you read about how Pakistan is doing in terms of SDGs, it starts with Pakistan plans to move to the upper tier of the middle class countries by achieving these SDGs. Do you think this is surreal, first of all, achieving them, then moving up so quickly, first of all? What are the indicators that we can probably, you know, judge upon right now, and where do we stand?
Actually, when we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals implementation, there's a tone which is set now. And for the tone which needs to be set, we need institutional arrangements.
Okay.
So we have two institutions at the government level or at parliament level which are working very fine. Are basically the SDG units at the Planning Commission at the federal, and in the P&D departments at the provinces level, even AJK and GB. At the parliament level, we have Parliamentary Task Force and the SDG Secretariat who are working very fine. They are oversee the progress of SDGs. There are 17 goals, and you know what is goal in football or hockey. And then there are targets. So when we have targets, there are 169 targets.
Okay.
And to monitor those targets, we have 246 indicators. And there are more indicators to that as well. So for each of the indicator, we have data. We have certain policies which needs to be adopted, whether these are the outcomes as poverty or no hunger, whether it's a implementation thing, whether we should have a universal health coverage for all, whether it's a process or institution that we should have a health regulations for all. So these are the things which we need to adopt. And as far as acts are concerned, parliaments are passing all kind of gender equality laws or the health regulation laws. As far as the process institutions are set up, you know that there are several institutions, even the past division, which is the outcome of this comment, SHAS program.
Yes.
So it's a jargon now. So SHAS program is a very good umbrella project for poverty alleviation, whether it's a Mazdoor Ka Ehsaas, Taaleem Pe Waseela Taaleem. It's an old branding thing, but or Waseela Sehat or whatever you call it. So there are several programs under that SHAS program. So the progress is going in the right direction.
Okay.
So we are looking for the outcomes. What are the outcomes? Outcomes in terms of the data. So data, as far as data is concerned, it takes time.
Of course.
Because first the policy comes, then its implementation, then the outcomes comes after 5 to 6 years, or sometimes after 10 years. So we are waiting for the data. Few data is here. So again, it's a technical thing. Again, Pakistan Demographic and Health Survey. It says that all the indicators of Pakistan Demographic and Health Survey of the health and population, they are improving.
Okay.
Highest data.
It's a good sign.
It's a good sign. It's a very good sign. As far as poverty is concerned, poverty is decreasing. So new estimates are coming. Yeah, poverty is decreasing,
Okay,
definitely.
okay.
Whether you are you set the goalpost, you set the poverty line, and then you compare across years whether it's decreasing or not. So it's decreasing definitely.
Okay.
Whether you set the poverty line at 6,000 rupees or 12,000 rupees or 18,000 rupees or 24,000 rupees,
Okay.
but you set a poverty line and then you compare with that poverty line.
Okay.
So definitely poverty is decreasing.
Exactly.
But how much is the poverty? That's
Yeah, but we'll
That's
come,
just
we'll come
whole
down to
other
that,
chapter.
but that's going to be very focused kind of conversation as well, and we want to have a generic conversation today for the better understanding of our viewers. But first, you said that we have 169 targets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to know how many targets we've achieved so far, and number two, what you just said as an economist, since I'm not an economist myself, so I would love to know that in a country where inflation is at its peak, do you think it's the poverty which is decreasing or increasing?
so when we talk about the inflation, first of all, as a macroeconomist, I'll
Yeah.
go over there. So when we talk about the inflation, so if the prices of wheat is going up, then farmers are getting benefits. There are several people who are involved in that wheat process. They are getting benefits. So inflation works over here that whenever the prices of the things of the commodities are increasing, then whoever is dealing in those products on commodities, they have their income is going up.
Yeah.
So poverty in a way, or the resource distribution of the income is going somewhere. So poverty at one end is going up, and poverty is at the other end is going down.
Got it.
So there is higher inequality maybe, but the poverty is definitely going
All
down.
right.
I think
And
you're right.
169 targets.
Out of 169 targets, most of the targets are on the right track.
Okay.
So as far as achievement is concerned, we are on the right track, but it's a 2030 thing.
Yeah.
And at the unit, we in general call it that even if we cannot achieve it by 2030, we will have it in some year down the line, 2035,
Allah kare.
2040,
Can I-
25.
can I add something
It's a
into
good agenda, basically.
We can't change the goals while playing.
No, I think
He
well,
changed
you're
the
right.
goalpost while playing.
Thank you very much
You
for
have
saying
to
that.
you have to set the rules before the play. You can't change it. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Sorry, come on.
But I think
But we can
Mr.
extend the time. In football, we have an
this
extra
is
time,
something
then
you
we
need
have
to- you
golden
need to
rule
put
goal.
on.
Mr. Ali Kamal, you're right. Economic disparity is something that is probably not going anywhere. So as much as we can work for poverty, you're right, we're doing it. But the disparity is something we worry about. We'll come to that. But now moving on to Ms. Saima, since you are the voice of the public over here today. So ma'am, of course I can read out the priorities that Pakistan set for the SDGs, but I actually want to hear them from you. So there are, of course, 17 ones of them. But if you were to pinpoint the top most prioritized ones that Pakistan needs to work on and is working on, what would they be?
Before I comment on those indicators, first I'd like to know,
Yes.
I'd like to tell the audience that we were Pakistan when the SDGs first came in 2015 when they were announced globally. Pakistan did the commendable effort of taking it up, adopting it. At that time, it was one of the first few countries which did that. And then in 2016 again, it unanimously, sort of passed it from the parliament also to take it up as the national goals of Pakistan. And since then, we've been working on it in the secretariat also. And that is also one of the few countries which have done that, to take it up in the national secretariat. In the present government, we have introduced a 5-year plan, which is in the Planning Commission and in the Ministry of Planning and Initiatives. And this is a 5-year initiative plan, and we are working with the UNDP also, which is actually, initiating different, they're monitoring them. They are also providing funding from different allocations are being given. So Pakistan is on the right track, and it is trying its very best to achieve these indicators and these targets that we have been given by the SDGs. Then if you come to the plans, I think the most priority that we are giving on a few these targets would be, I think, first of all, as you said, hunger.
Hunger, okay.
And like our colleague said, that in the SRS program you've seen in the last few months in COVID-19, which has 134 policies, and it is basically working on the same lines.
Okay.
And that is why we have introduced the Nashnuma plan for the stunted growth, and we have introduced the Kifalat program for the for looking after those women who cannot afford it. And then it is more of it, I would say it is gender based, more inclined towards the women, but in all it intends to poverty is one of the factors that we would like to end by the end of 2030.
Well, that's great, but ma'am, over here I have a disagreement, and I'm sorry, but this is something which I've witnessed ever since I was growing up within this country. And that is that when we talk about sustainable, we are talking about sustainable development goals. So for that matter, even if we have SRS program or Kafalat program or whatever programs are being introduced, I do not want to say that that these programs are not good. Oh, obviously, these are great initiatives by the taken by the current government. But the only problem is that I don't think that they are sustainable, because as soon as the new government is going to take over, whenever they're going to take over, I think that they're going to change the name of whatever projects these are. And when we talk about sustainable development goals, I think what we need to do is that we really need to teach everyone how to fish rather than giving them the fish.
I quite disagree with that, because if I talk about the SRS program, most of the people think it's the Benazir income support program, and we actually did include it in this program also. That's only 7 policies from that program, and we have included more, like I said, it's 134 policies now. So that includes more areas which need to be addressed.
Okay.
And that is why there are Kamyab Jawan program also, which is empowering the youth.
Yes.
So there are certain programs which have been introduced in the country only to address the same indicators which have been given and the targets that we have to achieve.
Wonderful. And so far, ladies and gentlemen, deep down within the conversation, I think that the results do look promising, or probably we might be on the right track. But I think that this is a question which needs to be asked from Mr. Amar Jafri, that whether all of these programs introduced by the government are going to be sustainable. And if they're going to be sustainable, I think everybody needs to applaud the initiatives taken by the government as well. But I think we should do it after a short break. Ladies and gentlemen, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We're talking about sustainability today. Let's do this. Good morning.
Good morning.
right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. For everybody who just got tuned into PTV World, you watching World this morning alongside my fantastic co-host, Ms. Shiza Hashmi, and myself, Shazad Khan. Ladies and gentlemen, earlier going towards a smaller break or a short break, we were in conversation with a mix of people who were representing the government and people who were actually representing the private sector as well. And what we were asking is whether we will be able to achieve all the SDGs by 2030. Well, I think I do not want to answer this. Yeah, Shiza, what do you
I
have
don't
to
think
say?
it's a yes and no question, but we're definitely in the right direction. That is what we have established so far. But I think, Shazad, before going on a short break, you actually posed a question to Mr. Amar Jafri, which was that, yes, the incumbent government is actually doing an amazing job towards, removing poverty, hunger, whatnot. But if we do look at these projects individually and even collectively, are these sustainable, first of all? And, well, what's the direction we're headed in?
In response to your question, I would like just to add that we need to focus on two things.
Okay.
One is to identify what's going on right now.
Yeah.
What is going on right now? I'm sorry, there are a lot of gaps in it.
Okay.
The government is working in silos, private sector is working in silos, universities are working in silos, even the corporate sector is working in silos. When we talk about education, we need to get data from the grassroots. How many out of schools we have, how many primary level kids we have without facilities. When we talk about SDG 4, it talks about education, it tells us the indicator, it tells us the target. Every target has an indicator. You can't just claim that we have done this. I'm sorry, it's not going like this. Data is a big issue, and data is what is shows in testing.
Yeah.
What is hide is vital. Let me tell you very frankly. So I spent a lot of my life. I am the first grade 17 officer of Nadra even today. Let me tell you very frankly. I've invested my life in mega databases systems, so I understand these things very well. Kamal has rightly pointed out we need to work on data.
Absolutely.
SDG Academy is trying to make its own database independent in the private sectors, right? We would like a total cooperation with the government of Pakistan. That's why we are working together with the government of Pakistan. The first thing.
Okay.
Second is, there are silos, so we need to make bridges now. And making bridges is the job of the government, not of the private sector. I don't have time to waste. Let me be very frank. I can't sit in the outside the office of a senior government officer and wait for that. I lot of otherwise I lose my company. So that's the point. Yeah. It's to the government, and I'm very very thankful to the government of Pakistan, right? Especially the MNA Sahaba sitting with me right now. She's heading the SDG 7, which is something solar, and today she is doing a wonderful program in this evening today. So these are the requirement, right? Second. And in the end, I would like to say in response to your question that goal 17 is very important.
Yes.
It is the issue of the governance. Yep. Trust you me, the bad governance right from the last 70 years is impinging upon everything we are doing right now. It's a matter of public policy, it's a matter of governance. So I would like, Shah, especially both of you, to please do a exclusive program SDG 16, which talks about governance, institutional building, tolerance, everything.
Yeah.
So I think
and we'll do that for sure as well. And I think there's a need that we speak about good governance as well and good governance practices. But there's this one thing for which you actually, if you're looking for that answer, you'll actually have to look within. And which is why I'm going to move on to Ms. Sadaf over here. Because sir has very rightly pointed out that everybody is working in a silo, and may it be the government, may it be the universities, may it be the corporate industry as well. Everybody's just working on their own, and we do not see any partnerships as well. And it is very true, and it is very essential for the government, HEC and the universities to actually have a bridge so that they can cover that gap. The graduates would know where do we actually have to land in near future, and so that everybody starts working in that direction. But when sir says that, that we do not see partnership anywhere, you being the CEO of the academy and heading the goal number 17, where are we in terms of partnership locally and globally?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting conversation that we're having. So what SDGs Academy strategy for the last 2 years that I've developed on a very fast track, the response from internationally and locally, we are having a partnership. In terms of yesterday, we are having a partnership with Takaful Pakistan, which is the biggest insurance company, and they tapped me and they want to collaborate with us working. So let me first clear one point. Sustainable Development Goals is working with the grassroots community for under underdeveloped countries. That concept needs to be clear in Pakistan. I would like to highlight, because the reason why I travel and go to far-flung areas myself with my team, we have coordinators all across Pakistan. We've called them team leads, from KP to Sindh to Balochistan, AJK to GB.
Yep.
You need to go to the grassroots community and implement the projects there. You have to come out of the cities. The partnership will only, and the impact that will happen from the government sector, from the NGO, from the students, the universities and colleges we talk about, we need to come on one platform. That is a challenge in Pakistan. That's why the impact we are not trying to, if we come together, everybody has its strengths and weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. In a country like Pakistan, and I'm very grateful to the PM Task Force and on SDGs, they've given different SDGs to one parliamentarians. That's a very smart move. Now, those parliamentarians need to contact people like us and XYZ in Pakistan if they have challenges and they cannot, they need facilitation, right? So we are ready to collaborate. We are ready to even link them. Like I said, I have developed 30 global partnerships all around the world. Wow. And let me just quote you one example. Right now, I am working with Ghana. Now, Ghana and Pakistan, like, imagine the way they are working on SDGs is just, I mean, incredible. I will talk about climate, because climate is a global issue, and Ministry of Climate right now is doing a wonderful job, from projects to tsunami billion trees and XYZ. What they are doing, they are working on circular economy. I would like Ali Kamal to comment on it. The need of the hour in Pakistan is we need to start with small pilot projects. I'll just give an example, plastic waste. Ministry of Climate from the Islamabad Federal Capital say no to plastic ban campaign, right? This need to scale up all across Pakistan. You know, in developed countries, people are making money out of this. It's not just garbage disposal, right? We need to aware. So what I'm bringing this project in Pakistan and the Ghana model replication, I'm calling it Eco Clean Gwadar, Eco Clean Kalam, Eco Clean Peshawar, Eco Clean, small pilot projects where decent one, economic growth also plays an important role. Job creation will be done under these projects. It's all interlinked. So we need to focus, we need to prioritize. And secondly, with the pandemic happening, I think there are 5 to 6 goals which I would like Ali Kamal to highlight. SDG 3, which is good health and well-being, is one of the top priority goals. SDG 4, which is quality education, and other goals we need to work on.
Right, that was brilliant, Ms. Sadaf, and we will definitely talk about the ones that you mentioned. But moving on with one of the, number 8, I think you spoke about decent work and economic growth. Now, of course, coming to you, Mr. Ali Kamal. Well,
I like this smile.
Yeah, decent work.
His favorite, that's his favorite goals. I want him to talk about it.
I mean, okay, decent work and economic growth. Okay, let economic growth aside. Of course, when there is decent work and employment for that matter, we are definitely going to see the graph go up. But here's the thing, and I'm going to tell you something firsthand, without any names actually. I happen to know people who have been working in organizations for more than 30 years. And now they are supposed to leave those organizations for so many reasons, and well, the pandemic being one of the major reasons again. They do not have any source of income, and we're talking about middle class families over here, probably, you know, not even the upper tier. We're talking about the laymen over here, the majority of Pakistanis. Where do they go? People from their own mouth tell you that, you know what, I'm going to lose my job, you're making me a criminal. Are you opening more avenues for people to commit things that are going to wrong the country? Are we actually moving somewhere in terms of decent work? Are we going to achieve any such thing in terms of, you know, well, the gender balance in terms of the workforce, or employment to gender on base of the gender balance for that matter?
So are we working towards reducing poverty or increasing it?
No, it's not about poverty. It's not
I think
about,
it's going to come down to that point anyway.
So basically, the main goal of the SDGs or the MDGs is basically to reduce poverty or no poverty. But very good question. Decent work. So when we talk about decent work, there are several 3 to 4 indicators, or 7 indicators, or 14 indicators, whatever you call it. But the main thing is universal social protection. So we need to have it. SAS is one component of it. It says social safety nets, but social protection and universal social protection is very important, which we need to implement it. And secondly, there's come a role of private sector as well as community as well as government sector as well. That when there are some laws that we need to implement in the private sector, that you should hire a labor, and it is these responsibilities you have to ensure that they should have a social protection, whether it's a EOBI or social welfare or whatever you call it.
Okay.
There are governance problems. There are different problems over there as well. But the issue is that whether private sector is complying that or not, whether that person is giving some remarks on the PMDU or not, whether he or she has the social protection from the private sector or not. So it's our responsibility, it's private sector responsibility, it's government responsibility, it's a community responsibility, it's overall. But number one thing is that we should have a universal social protection if we want a decent work.
Yeah.
So there are several components of decent work. One is a universal social protection.
Okay.
Then we have their safety.
Okay.
The safety standards should be there. Insurance should be there. So these are all part of social protection. So that's
Right.
one part of the question.
But just adding on to that as well, I know
Yeah.
this is getting long. But Mr. Ali Kamal, when you're talking about all these things, fine, let's not, I want to say, call out or complain the private and the public sector. You talked about community responsibility and individual one. Let us know about that, how we can actually do something about providing decent work to people.
So tell people about the SDGs, tell people about the decent work, tell people about the safety standard, tell people about the health standards, whether we should clean our hands with soap or not,
Okay.
before eating, after eating. So these are the mitigants of stunting as well.
Exactly.
Alright.
So not the Nashonuma program government has announced and stunting is going to be reduced.
Alright.
So it's a community level intervention as well that we need to have this. For example, another goal is goal 4.
Okay.
Why we are not sending our kids to schools.
Yeah.
So it's a community responsibility that we need to tell people that it is very important that you should send your kids to school.
And
Makes
that's
sense.
wonderful as
Makes
well.
sense.
And thank you very much for saying that, because I believe that for all of those people working at night, on television screens, I think it's their responsibility as well to share it with the audiences. We might be an English-speaking channel, but we go out in 46 different countries, so the world would know where we are in terms of SDGs, probably talking about today. But what are the other television channels doing? Are they working in the right direction?
I don't even
Are they
think
are
that-
they even highlighting? Are they making sure that they are making people aware and the societies and the communities aware?
They
of
don't have
that?
time for
That's
that.
a question. But so very quickly, we've last 3 minutes before we move on to ma'am, so that she can wrap it up for all of us. There's one thing which I wanted to ask, and that is that since we were talking about SDGs, since we were talking about all sorts of different programs, but talking about problems like COVID-19 or political instability, do you think that all of these SDGs will be a priority for the current government when they have so much on the table for themselves?
Shiraj, believe you me, this is my perception. Apart from the deaths and the sorry figures we have, that COVID-19 has triggered the change. That change would have never come in Pakistan had COVID not been there. So apart from, again, the very sad part of it, we have lost number of lives, but we should take advantage of this change. Everybody has got on internet now, schools, colleges, etc. You know what happened when the COVID started? I went to 3 important offices of the government of Pakistan. I said, please make internet free for everyone. Everyone. Give them smartphones. Trust you me, had they listened to me on that day, today we have different. Even today, government should focus on penetration, internet penetration, which is the job of the government. A number of organizations are working for them, it is mandated. Second is to engage people into SDGs. So I think we should take advantage of it, and government should take advantage of it. This is something knocking at our door. We just need to open the door, and door is here.
Wonderful. So let's see. Ma'am, how do you want to wrap the conversation up?
Actually, I would like to add a little bit
Sure.
about the renewable energy,
Sure.
that the SDG 7 that I'm heading. And I would like the audience to know that Pakistan, although we had in 2006, we had ARE, which is the alternate renewable energy policy, but our present government has also initiated a new policy, which is the 2019 policy, and it has the salient features are actually concerned with the that we are going to engage the public partnerships with the public partnerships and introduce a new policy with the new initiatives with the new goals also.
Okay.
And then we are basically it's going to be environmental friendly, and then it's a open door initiative for all the
Wonderful.
public and the the private
Yeah,
partnership.
exactly.
That we have
That's wonderful as
introduced.
well.
Yes.
Thank you
So
very
this is
much,
what I'm-
everybody, for joining us. I think it was a very fruitful conversation for us to learn about SDGs and where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to say that the situation is very bleak because we are still moving in the right direction. We have another decade to go. So probably, you know, all of these people talking about this early in the morning, they must be dedicated and motivated as well to make sure that whatever capacity they are working in, that they're going to strive for it. And that's what we spoke about as well, right at the beginning of the show, that you set a goal and you work towards that. So everybody's working toward that. It needs to be private and public partnership, as ma'am has actually mentioned as well. And we really need to look within ourselves as well, whether we are contributing to that or not, because we really need to be responsible citizens of Islamic Republic of Pakistan, or wherever you may probably be.
That was absolutely brilliant. And I feel like, Shazad, just to talk about these SDGs and how to go about it, this was like a really short span of time, right? This is such a
Exactly.
detailed conversation that we need to get into, and we will keep doing that probably, inshallah. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, we hope, and the purpose of this show again was for you to learn what development means to Pakistan. How far along are we in terms of, you know, playing our role in developing Pakistan? And have you learned about any of these things which actually matter in the development? Let us know by writing to us through our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube page with the name of
Well, this morning it'll be on your television screens in a second. Let's see. Here's the second. It's already there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the repeat of this show you can catch at
5 past midnight. Till the next time, ladies and gentlemen, just look after yourselves. Be awesome, be great, and make sure that you're focused in your life. Starve your distractions. Good morning.
Good morning.